Assalamualaikum and a good evening to Dr. Khairul Anwar bin Ibrahim as our lecturer for power system generation and transmission. So we are from group 13. We already choose our topic is concentrating solar power CSP system. So our group represent three of group members. So my name is Irfan bin Muhammad Rafi. My matrix number B0819104442. So we go through for question number one. Question number one require name the main component and its function for concentrating solar power CSP system. So for main components, we have consists of six main components here. So I will go through for number one and I will explain a little bit of its function. So for receiver, tubes is absorb the concentrated radiation at the focal line of parabolic through and linear Fresnel collector. The draft standard cover receivers with central absorber, tube and glass envelope, specifying the relevant product parameters and tests. The main requirements are good overall absorption properties, low thermal loss to the ambient Q loss, and the durability for at least 25 years of daily operation cycles and outdoor weather exposure. It's such a good components for this project. So for number two is solar mirrors. The solar mirrors main requirements for mirrors for concentrating solar system are the reflecting properties, the geometry parameters, in particular surface shape, and the durability for decades of outdoor weather exposure. The specifications are applicable to all types of concentrating solar technology variants. The standard draft under preparation for reflector includes the testing protocol established to characterize these components both optically and geometrically, as well as the testing procedure to prove its durability both through accelerated aging tests and mechanical resistance tests. So for number three is solar trackers. Solar trackers focus on the elaboration of the standard for solar trackers is the parameterization and characterization of a solar tracking system. It is oriented to its application on heliostats technology. Later versions are expected to cover other technologies such as a parabolic through collector. The index of the draft document is based on published standard IEC 62727 for photovoltaic solar trackers. Number four is heat transfer fluids. The standard for heat transfer fluid HTF is under preparation and is expected to be published during 2016. Such a new components. The standard draft includes the characterization of the fresh unused fluid and also in the in-service fluids analysis. Besides the requirement standard, scope terms definitions, HTF, test and their significance is under development. Number five is parabolic through collector performance. For solar thermal parabolic through collector, the current standard draft is applicable to large size parabolic through collector for electricity production and working fluid temperature above 150 degrees Celsius in the CSP plants. So and lastly, the specific sensors. Sensor used on a solar thermal power plants are common sensor widely used in a industry, thermocouple, P300, flow meter, and others. All of them have their own standard to secure quality. The application with concentrated solar radiation implies some good practices or requirements in the entire sensor quality chain, from manufacturing or to installation. So we go through next question is How does it work and how does it produce electricity? So CSP technology use mirror to reflect and concentrate sunlight onto a receiver. The energy from the concentrated sunlight hits a high temperature fluid in the receiver. The concentrating solar thermal power system are generally used for utility scale project. These utility scale CSP plants can be configured in different ways. Power tower system arrange mirrors around a central tower that acts as the receiver. So the next question is the basic working principle and process involved. So here we have four of basic working principle. Number one is parabolic through system. Through this system, solar energy is concentrated by curve through shape reflector which are focused onto a receiver pipe. The pipe usually contains thermal oil which is heated and then used in thermal power block to generate electricity in a steam generation. Number two is power tower system. This system uses mirrors called heliostats that track the sun and focus its energy onto a receiver at the top of a tower. A fluid, often molten salts, is heated inside the receiver and is used to generate steam, which drives a turbine generator. Number three is linear Fresnel system. A large number of collectors are set out in rows. The mirrors are laid flat on the ground and reflect the sun onto the receiver pipe above. Similar to through and tower system, Fresnel can integrate storage in a power block or generate steam directly. And the last one is parabolic dish system. A parabolic shaped dish acts a concentrator that reflects solar energy onto a receiver mounted on a structure with a tracking system that follows the sun. The collector heat is then, then generated by a heat engine. The dish can attain very high temperature which make the system potentially well suited for use in solar reactor. So for CSP advantages and disadvantages, we go through for just Warren.
My name is Jaiswaran. My metric number is B0810101778. I try to explain about the advantage and disadvantage. First is renewable energy is perhaps the most abused advantage of CSP. It is that is a renewable. Its supply will be never be exhausted and can be used continually. So it is a sustainable energy sources. It can also reduce carbon footprint. The second advantage is renewable efficiency. CPS also provide a continuously source of electricity, but additionally is comparison of the solar, photosynthesis, and wind power, which provide intermediate supplies. Third is easy maintenance. Is CP can be easily integrated into existing steam-based power plant, even those fossil fuel can be used for CSP systems. The third advantage is can mix with other energy sources. Consistent solar power can be used in combination with other energy sources, provide a more secure energy grid. The last advantage for it of usage is it as potential use a transfer from energy. Now we go to the disadvantage. The first disadvantage is CSP needs large area is disappear the manual many benefit of CSP is it does have a downside. For one, it's a larger dependent on location, similar to solar power, solar PV and wind power. CSP plant required to a large area of wind to operate, which make it unconventional in pollution areas. Second disadvantage is need a large amount of water. Concentrated solar power use a lot of water to drive steam turbine and to cool the thermochemical reactors. Although seawater may be seen as a possible solution in the cold pressure solar radiation issue for the surrounding landscape. The third disadvantage is costly. CSP plants are also expensive to run. Thermal energy storage material that can be withstand high temperatures are costly with difficult to source. Uh, the fourth disadvantage is high competition. Competition from the other energy sources like solar PV and fission-based nuclear power means that CP does not always receive the development it needs to become a primary energy sources. The last disadvantage is use more material. CSP plants use more material than conventional fossil plants, many of which are recyclable. Because solar plant also produce toxic substance like pineapple, which can be burned in high temperature, can produce residues that stay in the environment for many years and harmful to humans. Go to the example of actual installation. Ivanpah. The Ivanpah Solar Energy Project developed in Source Energy Co and operated by NGR Solar is targeted to produce 377 megawatts of power, enough to provide electricity in around 140,000 homes deep in the Mojave Reservoir of Los Angeles, the world. Now I send to regard to Ikram.
Thank you, Jaiswaran. My name is Ikram Hamzah bin Raj Mohammed. My metric number is B08191010. This is the example of the image of CSP power plant at China. Okay, China plans to add around 400 to 500 megawatt on an average each year, and Chile will add over 2 gigawatts during 2019 to 2030, according to the report. China completed around 200 megawatts of CSP installation in 2018, which is almost 7 times its cumulative installed capacity at the end of 2017. China, along with Morocco, is among the largest CSP markets based on an annual additions in 2018. The report reveals that China is set to become the country with that position for a long time. This is the image of the CSP at China. This is the image of the CSP installed at California. At California, with the combined capacity from 3 separate locations at 354 megawatts, it was once the world's second largest solar thermal energy generating facility. After the commissioning of the even larger Ivanpah facility in 2014, it consisted of 9 solar power plants in California, Mojave Desert, where installation is among the best available in United States. Next, the standards that are related to build and run a concentrated solar power system, CSP system. There is 5 standards that are related in order to build and run a CSP power plant system. First, we need to know about the financing. The primary barrier to utility scale solar power is project financing. The 2008 economic crisis severely restricted the private sector capital that is typically used to finance renewable energy projects. Commercial banks today don't simply have enough appetite for long-term and low-interest debt to finance construction for every project in the queue. Second, area of high direct normal solar radiation. In order to concentrate the sun's energy, it must not be too diffuse. This feature is captured by measuring the direct normal intensity of the sun's energy. Production potential in the US Southwest standards apart from the rest of the US. Third, we need to know the contiguous parcel of land with limited cloud cover. A CSP plant operates most efficiently and thus most cost-effective when built in sizes of 100 megawatts and higher, while land needs will be varied by technology. A typical CSP plant requires 5 to 10 acres of land per megawatt of capacity. The larger the larger acreage accommodates thermal energy storage. Okay, next is the access to water resources. As we need water resources, we need uh, we need a lot of water resources to run a CSP power plant. Like other thermal power plants such as natural gas, coal and nuclear, some system requires access to water for cooling. All require small amounts of water to wash collection and mirror surface. CSP plants can utilize wet, dry and hybrid cooling techniques to maximize efficiency in electricity generation and water conservation. Finally, it must be available and proximate transmission access. CSP plants must be sited on land suitable for power generation with adequate access to an increasingly stressed and outdated transmission grid. Access to high voltage transmission lines is key for development of utility scale solar power projects to move electricity from the solar power plant to end users. Most of the existing transmission infrastructure in the southwest is at full capacity and new transmission is urgently needed. So these are some of the standards that are needed to run and build the CSP power system. Next is the standard regulation. In any electrical projects that are being built or being run or anything, everything has to has the standard regulation. To build a solar CSP system, there is 5 standard regulations that are needed so that it can be run. First is the IEE standard. The IEE standard is a method for properly sizing the PV array and battery for standalone PV systems. Second is the IEC TC82 standard. The IEC TC82 standard develops and adopts all PV related standards. Third is the CEC standards. CEC standards is developers of solar thermal power generating facilities must obtain license from the California Energy Commission CEC for construction of a power plant with a net generating capacity of 50 megawatts or more and all related facilities dedicated or essentially to the operation of thermal power plant. Next is the NEC standard. NEC standard is National Electrical The PV array must be listed or field labeled as rapid shutdown array. Lastly is the British standard. British standard series of standard focus on requirement for custom built solar system and components. It provides them for factory made systems, encompasses generally requirement for durability, reliability and safety for the solar thermal collectors. So that's it from us. Thank you very much, guys. Anyone has any questions? Okay, Soren, do you have any question? Okay,
No,
Irfan, do you have any question?
Oh.
All right, so that's it for our presentation today. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.